Well, hello everybody. As you can see, those of you who know me from the past, you probably don't recognise me. Even the local people don't recognise me at the moment. I am going to have a haircut and a shave once the barbers are open at the beginning of July. So all this will be going. Well, welcome to tonight. As you know, we're going to be talking about aloe and the drinking gels in particular. For those of you who don't really know much about me and wonder why it's this wild man on the screen here talking to you, I will tell you a little bit about my background, which we can see from the next slide. If we can see that one, Kate, please. And you can see here, I come from a long line of farmers, basically, and that's one of my bulls. We've got 3 big bulls here on the farm and about 300 cattle. Parents were farmers, and I was always expected to be the same, but I decided when I was very young that I wanted to be a vet. Quick, easy decision, but what I didn't know was that I was way behind at school. I only started to read properly when I was about 12, and they finally discovered that I have dyslexia, which is what was holding me back. However, at the end, I went off to several different universities and ended up at Cambridge, where I did my veterinary degree. And a few friends phoned me last week, and that is now 40 years ago that I qualified from Cambridge, which is amazing. Joined Forever Living in 1996, so that's 24 years ago as an FBO, like you all did. And then the following year, I was asked to join the advisory board. So I've been on the advisory board for 27 years. And I spend a lot of my time normally doing things for Forever, but with the current situation, of course, it hasn't been so much. But if we see the next slide, Kate. That's it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through a little bit about the history of aloe and what's in it and what it does. And then we're going to look at the most important drinking gels. The history of many herbs goes back around 4,000 years, and it's exactly the same for aloe vera. There's Egyptian temple engraving carving here from 2000 BC. And it shows on the left-hand side of that engraving the aloe vera plant, and that is the same aloe we use today, Aloe barbadensis. In fact, aloe is Arabic for a shiny, bitter substance, because when you allow the sap to dry from the leaves, it forms this lovely amber substance, which when you lick it is very bitter. The first time that aloe products started to come to the UK was around the 1800s, and it came particularly from the Caribbean, Jamaica, often called Cape aloes or horse aloes, and it was particularly at that time used in animals. It wasn't until later they started to use it in humans. Next one, please, Kate. This is a lovely picture of one of our aloe vera fields. You can see a little yellow hue to it all, and that's because if you look closely, there's lots of flowers on these plants. These plants can live for up to 12 years, and they start flowering when they're about 3 or 4 years old. So we know these plants are mature ones, and these are the ones that they will start to cut the leaves off of. We have around 50 million aloe vera plants. 30 million of those are in the Dominican Republic. About 6,500 acres of plantations. So it's a huge amount of land. And of course, we are the largest producer of aloe vera in the world. They get about 2,000 hours of sunshine every year. They are a xerophyte. They normally live in desert-like conditions, so they do need a lot of sunshine. We produce about 85 tons of leaves every day, which is huge. And that produces around 8 million gallons of pure aloe every year. The raw material can vary a little bit because it depends on the soil type. It likes very free draining sandy soils like you'd have in desert conditions. The climate, obviously nice and sunny and dry. The season of the year that they actually crop the leaves, and the harvest method. And that's what makes us very different to other companies. As you know, we actually hand cut only mature leaves. We don't go along with a machine and chop the whole plants off. We actually go out in those fields and take off the mature leaves by hand. Next slide, please. This is a cross-section of the leaf, and if you look right at the bottom of the right-hand side, you can see a whole leaf in cross-section, and this is just a tiny part of it, just to show you really the different anatomical features. And first of all, at the top, the darker area is the rind. That's about 15 cells thick, and that's where the nutrients are actually produced. that has a waxy coating on it to actually help the plant conserve water, because as we said, it lives in desert-like conditions and water is very, very important, and it doesn't want more evaporating than it needs to, so it has a waxy coat. Just under this layer you have what they call the sap. This is where the pericyclic tubules are. It's like a circulation that we have, but it's moving everything around the leaf. And this sap contains the xylem and phloem, which circulates in the pericyclic tubules. And if you cut the actual leaf and hang it up, that's what's dripping out. It's the sap, often known as bitter aloes. The next layer is a mucilage layer. It sort of holds the gel in place underneath. It's very high in the polysaccharides. This is where the ace mannin is in the mucilage layer. And this is where we actually do the filleting. We fillet in that mucilage layer so that the bulk of the actual filleted gel that we use are these large parenchyma cells at the bottom, those large white colored cells you can see. They're large because they contain and save the water for the leaf, but also all the nutrients are stored actually in those parenchyma cells. But it's important to note that we fillet through that mucilage layer so that we can make sure that most of the bitter aloes are left behind with the rind, which we then put onto a compost heap, compost that rind down and use that to go out back into the fields again. And we just save the filleted gel from the inside. We see the next slide, Kate, please. This one shows an actual leaf which has been filleted, just so that you can see all the different anatomical parts again. And in the center there, the largest area, that is the parenchyma cells, these really big cells. This is the filleted gel that we use. It has a shiny surface to it, which is the mucilage layer. And if you look above, you can see that on the actual segment of the rind which has been cut. You have a bit of the mucilage layer, and then you have these little black dots, and those little black dots are the pericyclic tubules, which have the sap, and then above that, the little thin layer is actually the rind. Next one, please, Kate. In aloe itself, there are several hundred nutrients. Most of them haven't been identified yet, but they have identified around 75 so far. And to make it more simple, we tend to put them into 10 major groupings. You're not expected to remember all these, but you need to know where to find the information if somebody asks you the question, because you will get the questions about what vitamins, what minerals, etc. are present. So on the next few slides, I'm just going to show just a few examples. It's not every single vitamin, not every single mineral which is present, but it is quite a few of them. So we can have the next one, please, Kate. So first of all, you have lignin in aloe, which is a woody substance. It's found with the cellulose. Doesn't do a lot, but one thing it does do, it carries other nutrients through the epidermis to the dermal layer. And that's where we're trying to get to. When we're trying to maintain the health of the skin, we need to get through the epidermis down to the dermal layer. Saponins, they're natural soapy cleansers. You'll see them in a lot of high street products, shampoos and soaps and things, because they are naturally soapy and a natural cleanser for your skin. The bitter aloes, quite an important group, need to have very small amounts present, which we ensure by doing the filleting. So it's a very, very low level of these, but they give the color and the taste to the aloe that you enjoy every morning. That bitter taste comes from the bitter aloes, of course. They used to use bitter aloes, as anybody as old as me will know, they used to paint it on children's nails to stop you biting your nails. Bitter aloes are also naturally antimicrobial, so it gives some of the properties to affect bacteria, viruses, yeasts and fungi is found in this particular area. It's very soothing and calming, and it does give mild pain relief. So if you were bitten by an insect or had a little minor burn, if you pop on some of the particularly the jelly we have or activator formula, you'll find it's very cooling and helps to relieve the pain for a short period. It doesn't last too long, 20 minutes, half an hour, and you'd need to do it again, but it is quite effective. Next one, please, Kate. Vitamins, we're only going to mention a few of these. There are known so far at least 10 vitamins. They are either fat soluble or water soluble. If they're water soluble ones, you have to take them every day, and that includes all of the B vitamins, and vitamin C are water soluble, so you have to take those every day. The fat soluble ones are stored in your body, like vitamin A, particularly in the liver and the fat, and that obviously you don't need to take quite so often. But just a couple of examples: B1, which is thiamine, Many of these vitamins are involved with different biochemical pathways. In this case, it's particularly those involved with the muscles and the central nervous system. Riboflavin B2, again, lots of biochemical pathways, but particularly here in carbohydrate metabolism, and very beneficial for the skin, the eyes, and the nervous system. They're actually essential B2 for the production of things like acetylcholine for your nerve impulses. So you need to have B2 in your diet every day. Next one, please. Vitamin A, I mentioned that just now, retinol. First of the antioxidant vitamins, they're quite easy to remember. The three are ACE, C, and E. So ACE, and the first one is vitamin A, and that maintains the health of the eye, but also is involved with the transmission of the light stimuli from your retinas to your brain, involved with the immune system as well, and the skin. Vitamin C, you'll be very familiar with, ascorbic acid. Normal function of the nervous system and the immune system, but also, as you know, collagen fibers, the skin, your blood vessels, teeth, gums, all need vitamin C. So a very important one to have in our diets on a daily basis. Next one, please, Kate. Vitamin E, tocopherol. Again, an antioxidant. It's involved with myopathies, that's problems with your muscles, weakness of your muscles, particularly skeletal muscles. It is very closely linked with selenium. With my veterinary hat on, if I have a problem called white muscle disease in lambs, I will inject them with selenium and vitamin E, because both of them are needed together. So often you'll find that vitamins linked to different minerals. It can affect the heart muscle as well in some species. Supports the immune system and the reproductive system. Very important to maintain the health of the reproductive system if you're trying to conceive. As well as aloe, there are lots of other sources. Vegetable oils, wheat germ is a popular one as well. Next one, please, Kate. The minerals, so that was just a few of the 10 vitamins which were found. There are 9 minerals. This calcium, very, very, very important. Many different roles. It's a really interesting mineral. 99%, as you would expect, is found in the skeleton. It's involved with your nerve impulses, but also your muscle contractions. You'll probably remember from your biology, actin and myosin. And for those to contract across each other, they need calcium. Also, what a lot of people don't know, the M pathway with your hormones from your endocrine system, for them to be actually activated at the end where they're in the cells, they need calcium to do that. It's the final reaction which occurs to get your hormones to work. A lot of vitamins and minerals, and particularly minerals, are linked with other minerals. So you get them linked with, as you can see here, phosphorus, sodium, and they're all involved with what they call your control the osmotic pressure in your blood and your electrolyte balance, all the different minerals in the electrolytes in your blood as well. So they're often combined together. And for the absorption of vitamin D, of course, for the absorption of calcium, you do need vitamin D, and that's activated by sunlight. So if you totally cover up, you're going to become deficient in vitamin D. And it's quite interesting that over the last few years, they've discovered that many ladies actually are deficient in vitamin D. So often ladies need to maybe have a blood test and then supplement with extra vitamin D. And remember that although I'm talking about all these vitamins and minerals, they're only present in very small amounts in the aloe. So if you have a deficiency, like vitamin D deficiency, for example, you do need to take the supplements. Vitamin D has also been located and can sometimes be involved with depression and anxiety. So vitamin D in your diet is very, very important. Next one, please, Kate. So that was the only mineral I was going to mention out of the 9. Amino acids, another important group. It's quite surprising that in aloe, there are 19 of the 20 which are known. On a daily basis, there's 8 that you need, and again, 7 of those are found in aloe vera. The one which is missing is tryptophan. So most of the amino acids are actually present in the aloe which you drink every day, and of course these are vital for the building blocks of your cells, your proteins, your muscles. So again, you need these on a daily basis. Plant enzymes are present. They help with digestion of your food and improve absorption of the nutrients from your digestive system. So they're beneficial. Fatty acids are a very soothing and calming agent. They are very good also at cleaning off areas as well. And again, they're used in a lot of different products. Salicylic acid, you do need to remember a little bit about this one because you could get questions, particularly with some people who, for example, own cats and know a little bit about aspirin, because most plants contain salicylic acid, but aloe in particular does not contain any aspirin. But some people start to link salicylic acid, which is found in plants, and in the case here, aloe, with aspirin. But I can assure you there is no aspirin at all in aloe, and therefore it's perfectly safe to give to cats. The reason I mention that is because cats are very susceptible to aspirin. But not to aloe. They can certainly take aloe, and I get sent photos of cats queuing at the fridges in the morning waiting for their daily amount of aloe. The thing with cats is persuading them to take them in the first place. It's not a positive experience to be wrapping up cats in blankets and pinning them down in tables and forcing things down their throats. What you've got to do is be cunning like they are, and if they won't take it, then just pop a little bit onto the back of their paw, the aloe, and of course they will start to lick it because they are very clean animals and they'll get used to the taste, and then slowly introduce it into their food, a few drops a day. So that's salicylic acid. So there is no aspirin in aloe vera. Next one, please. Sugars, this is a very important group, very interesting group, in the limelight as well at the moment. There's all sorts of simple sugars in aloe vera, like glucose and fructose are often called monosaccharides, but if you join them together in chains, they're called polysaccharides. And one of the most important is one made up of glucose and mannose, and that has been named as ace-mannin. And the Carrington laboratories actually in America have isolated that and made it into an actual drug called kerosene, used where they want to have an effect on the immune system. In fact, that molecule of ace-mannin is absorbed whole. So when you drink your gel every day, that little molecule is absorbed whole through your gut wall and gets into your bloodstream as a complete molecule. Along comes cells of your immune system, and particularly here we're talking about white blood cells, and particularly the lymphocytes, and they actually consume it as a food, and it helps them to encourage other types of lymphocytes to produce antibodies. And that's been mentioned several times on the TV lately with the COVID situation that we're in, that they know that we need to stimulate T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes, which are white blood cells. And aloe can help to do that. So it can help to maintain your immune system. These sugars also line the digestive system, help to keep all the villi nice and clean, decrease the absorption of toxins, but on the other hand, it increases the absorption of the nutrients you do need to absorb from your diet. Acts as a prebiotic. People are getting more aware of prebiotics now. We've always been told about probiotics, which are actually the gut flora bacteria and protozoas, but here we have the oligosaccharides. They're very simple sugars found in aloe vera, which are the food for the really good bacteria. It encourages the growth of good bacteria in your digestive system. So it's naturally found in aloe, can help to protect cells from invasion from other microorganisms, helps to lubricate joints, and it helps with gaseous transfer in the lungs. So these sugars are a very important group and are being currently well studied. Next one, please, Kate. Okay, so overall, what does aloe have? What are the important points that your customers may ask you, or you may want to know for yourself if you're taking aloe? Basically, it has masses of different essential nutrients in very low amounts, but there's lots of, as we've just said, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, carbohydrates, fatty acids. They're all present in the aloe. So if you take it daily, it's contributing to your daily requirement. If you use it topically, it's a great cleanser for the skin because there's the saponins in. It would help to penetrate through the epidermal layer to the dermis because it has lignin. Wonderful moisturizer. You can't look online or go into the high street if you were allowed to and buy a product which they haven't put aloe vera in it, trying to convince you that it's going to improve the moisture of your skin. In fact, I've noticed quite a lot of the hand sanitizers out there have got aloe vera in them, probably very small amounts. It helps to clean up your skin. If you've got a lot of dead cells on the skin, you need to debride it, and it gets rid of those naturally. It improves the blood flow to your skin, increases cell division. A lot of work's been done on the cell division. Danoff was the first in America. Peter Atherton, who used to be on the advisory board, he did work at Oxford, and Derek Nottenbelt did similar work in animals at Liverpool University. They all showed the same thing. No matter humans or whatever they were, animals, the number of cells replicated quicker if you applied aloe vera topically to them, about 3 times their normal rate. So it's quite significant if you're trying to heal a wound. Aloe is very soothing and calming. And of course, there are no really known side effects from filleted gel. And it's important we're talking about filleted gel, which is the product we have. Next slide, please, Kate. Okay, so again, how does it help to maintain your health? Well, it works on particular systems, as you're well aware, the epithelial tissues, and we all know the largest organ of the body is the skin. But what people often forget is that every orifice that you have in your body or an animal has, which connects with the skin, is going to have an epithelial like lining. So therefore it helps the digestive system, the respiratory system, urinary system, genital tract, ears, eyes, nose, throat, masses of different areas where aloe can benefit and help to maintain the health of those different areas. And on the immune system, it is a potent immunomodulator, trying to return the immune system and keep it well balanced to maintain its health. And that's through its production, one of its uses for the production of these antibodies called immunoglobulins. It also stimulates some of these large white blood cells found in your blood, and they are scavengers. They go around and they can consume whole bacteria, viruses, wrong types of cells, dead cells. So they're really cleaning up the areas, macrophages. And mono-6-phosphate has been shown to help with all those different systems, particularly when it comes to the skin. Next one, please, Kate. So getting down to the important points now, we know all this theory behind it, but what about the products? And this is why I joined Forever Living all those years ago, because I wanted to get my hands on those products, firstly for myself, and then to use it in my practice. My practice has changed over the years. Initially, I was all animal. Now I'm probably helping to maintain the health of more humans than I am animals, which is quite an interesting move. The new types of filleted gel, they have 99.7% pH balanced filleted inner leaf gel in them. It's really, really high. We recommend that you take 120 mils, I say, every day, but it does range from 60 to 120. You can take more. A lot of people take more, and there's no problem with that at all. It has no added sugar at all, so the calories are very, very low at 2.5 per 120 mils. It has 84% of your recommended daily intake of vitamin C. So there's a lot of vitamin C there. The carton is recyclable. There's no chemical preservatives. The only things added are actually what's naturally found in aloe anyway, like ascorbic acid, which is the vitamin C, and citric acid. And they're added to actually balance the pH. It's aseptically produced. What does that mean? Well, it means it is flash heated for less than 15 seconds below pasteurization temperature, which does not affect any of the proteins in the gel. And also it's been shown that this new formulation of the gel, the actual bioavailability of the different nutrients has been increased. So there's more waste smelling which can be absorbed through your digestive system from this new gel. The plants are grown on all our own plantations, and each carton is got a code on it, so we know that it's fully traceable back to the plantation where it came from. And that's very important these days with any food or supplement you take. Is it fully traceable? And yes, ours is. Hand cut, so the mature leaves are hand cut, and it is only mature leaves, and that's the beauty of our system. Because we do it by hand, you can actually select out in the fields which are the mature leaves and only take those. Hand filleted and actually processed within 6 hours, which is really quick, and you need that, otherwise it oxidizes, as you know, and you can soon see if it oxidizes if you've got it home too long in the fridge or it's been open, it goes brown basically. It's going to maintain the health, as we've said, of the epithelial tissues and the immune system, but also supports the digestive system and aids nutrient absorption from the guts. 2-year shelf life, litre containers, but also you can get the 330 mils, as you can see here. It has the International Science Council certificate on it. It's vegetarian and vegan friendly, halal and kosher certified, not tested on animals, and when refrigerated will last for around 30 days. So it is an excellent product which I take on a daily basis and have done so now for 24 years. That's probably why my hairs get so long and my beard's gone so grey. Next one, please, Kate. The berry nectar, another product which I frequently use. It's got a high aloe content, again, 90.7% of the pH in a leaf gel. Therefore, it's going to have all the properties of the gel that we've just discussed. There's an addition of the 4% apple juice concentrate and, of course, the cranberry concentrate at 2%. As you know, cranberries are very beneficial for the urinary tract, particularly the bladder, and that's why it was added to this product, also to improve the taste. It's very, very good for maintaining the health of the urinary tract, kidneys, bladder, etc., ureters, urethras, all the little nephrons inside the kidneys that benefit from a combination of aloe and cranberries. 50% less sugar than the previous product that we had, only 30 calories and 120 mils. And again, 84% of your vitamin C on a daily basis. So it's got an excellent source of vitamin C. Next one, which is the last of these aloe-based gels. Peaches. I banned this one in my house. I found it was so drinkable that everybody was drinking it faster than I could buy it. 84.3% of the inner leaf gel. Again, all the properties of the aloe. It has that absolutely delicious taste, and obviously it's favored by children. It's easy to get them to take this one. Has the 8% peach puree with white grape juice. 40% less sugar than the original, 35 calories in every 120 mils, and 40% less time of your daily requirement of vitamin C. One little word of warning, it does contain an extract from grapes. It is at a very low level. Grapes themselves, if dogs in particular consume enough of these, they can be slightly toxic. They can cause digestive upsets and can be more serious if they eat a lot of grapes. So I wouldn't normally advise giving this one to dogs, but I can't think why you'd want to anyway, because if you're trying to maintain their health, you're going to pick the one with the highest aloe content anyway, aren't you? So you're going to pick the gel, and if you're specifically trying to help the urinary tract, you'd be picking the cranberry. So it's not a product that I would normally give to animals, this one. The last one, Kate, if we can see the next slide, is another favorite product of mine, which again I've been using for years. Some of you who know me will know that many years ago I had a serious car crash. I was off work for 2 years. I couldn't do my veterinary work for 2 years because I was so smashed up in this car. I was taking a product which had glucosamine chondroitin in it. It was actually a horse powder, which you should never do. And I wasn't really getting a lot of benefit with it until I joined Forever and I started drinking the gel with this horse powder. And again, you should never do that. And I probably shouldn't be telling you this story. But basically, I noticed a difference when I was drinking it with the gel. So I was really pleased when the company came out with Freedom and I could stop taking the horse powder and I could start taking this on a daily basis. It has 90% of the stabilized aloe gel. It has glucosamine, a chondroitin, and MSM. The glucosamine comes from the shells of crustaceans, which means it's things like lobsters and crab shells. It doesn't contain the flesh of those, like shellfish, and some people are allergic to shellfish, but there's not shellfish in this, it's crustacean shells. The chondroitin sulfate comes from cartilage, particularly cartilage from chickens, and the MSM is an extract from pine trees in particular. The other point I've got to mention is that I said very quickly it's 90% stabilized aloe vera gel, because this is not the new gel, the 99% gel. This is the original stabilized gel, which we've had for 40 years, which has other stabilized agents in it, like sorbitol, which comes from corn, xanthan gum, which comes from a seaweed kelp. So it's a totally different type of stabilization process than the new one, but it is also present, and you need to remember this, in all of our topical products. So it's the Freedom of the topical products which still use stabilized gel, and these drinks we mentioned just now, the three main ones we mentioned, they are the new gel. It does have some orange concentrate. Again, it is in tiny, tiny amounts. Normally, those sort of citrusy things we avoid with animals, but I've given this to animals now for years, and I think because it's in such a low concentration and such a high aloe content, I've never had a digestive problem with them. Humans, 120 mils and 35 calories in every 120 mils. Well, I think that's my last slide. So we've been through the main aloe drinking products that you can take on a daily basis, and either Kate or Rachel's going to sort out some questions, hopefully. So I'll leave it with you guys to to organise that?
Yeah, we've got a few
Capable.
questions.
Yeah.
We had a lot of people commenting on your beard, actually. Everyone said it was great, said it was fabulous.
Yeah, my wife doesn't want me to take it off, and she doesn't want me to have my hair cut, but it gets in my eyes all the time. I have to wear like a bandana thing. But yeah,
Lockdown looks.
makes me look older though, the beard, doesn't it? I think, 'cause it's gone grey.
No.
My hair's not too bad, but the beard's, maybe I'll just keep it very short. So what else
Okay.
are they asking about?
So we've got someone asking, a customer was worried that aloe was dangerous for animals, especially dogs, because she read a study from Pets at Home, and the study said that saponin leads to toxicity when and the potential breakdown of red blood cells, which if ingested can be fatal as it bonds to sugar on a molecular level, affecting the dog's blood sugar levels. So how could I advise her that ours is safe?
It's all down to the amount of these things in the product. Most research is done most unpleasantly by taking a series of rats, mice, guinea pigs, and giving them huge amounts of them over a long period of time, and seeing the result at post-mortem. And they've done that with quite a few different nutrients, which you also do find in aloe. But when you're down at parts per million, tiny amounts in a balanced product like our gel, it's not just saponins in the gel, it's all those different nutrients. And most herbs and plants, that's how they have very little side effects. Originally, 40% of our drugs were extracted from plants. And what they did, they purified the active ingredient, but by doing that, they made the side effect more. And it's the same in the case of the research that they've done on things like saponins and some of the other contents of different herbs. And if you use the neat saponins and you give them in a fairly heavy dose over a period of time, yes, you will get those things which have been reported in literature. But it's always the same. You need to actually read the paper and see what they were getting. Was it actually in its natural form as found in a herb, or was it actually the purified form they were doing in laboratory situations at very high amounts? And I've seen this so often over the years, and it then gets into the papers and different societies, and it's all blown out of proportion, a little bit like I said just now with salicylic acid and how they link that with aspirin, when actually there is no connection at all. If you give huge amounts of purified aspirin to a human or an animal, you'll be aware that first of all, it damages the lining of your digestive system. And so it applies to a lot of other nutrients, which are then given in high doses for long periods and not the way that they're formed and found naturally in a plant. That is the beauty of something like aloe. It's in the proportions that nature provided for us. Okay.
Fabulous. So when drinking the gels, if someone doesn't like the taste of it, is there anything that they should not mix it with?
Unfortunately, yes. One is alcohol, and I do enjoy a little tipple. So you mustn't add it directly with alcohol, and you mustn't add it to hot drinks either. Very hot drinks will denature it. If you put it in boiling water, it will denature a lot of the proteins and some of the other nutrients in it. You can certainly add it to certain fruit juices. The popular over years was Ribena. A lot of people added to Ribena, and when we were helping the gorillas over in the Gerald Durrell Zoo on Jersey, we put aloe in a little beaker, plastic beaker, with Ribena in it. And the gorilla just used to take it from the beaker with the Ribena because he enjoyed the taste. So yeah, you can mix it with certain things like that. Just avoid alcohol or hot drinks. It doesn't mean you can't have a hot drink afterwards, because obviously you wouldn't be able to swallow it if it was still boiling. So that's not going to affect it. It's actually putting the aloe vera into that drink or putting it into that alcohol, which will damage it. Okay.
Okay. Are the products vegan or vegetarian friendly?
They are. Yes, they are. I did say earlier on when I was going through them that they are fine for vegans and vegetarians, except for the freedom, because I'm just limiting myself to the gels here, the drinking gels. But as I said earlier, the actual freedom contains glucosamine, which comes from the shell of crustaceans, and the chondroitin, which has to come from cartilage, and you only find cartilage in animals, so it comes from animals. So obviously, vegetarians and vegans wouldn't normally take that product. They would probably, if they can cope with eggshell membrane, they would move to the turmeric and eggshell membrane in move, take the move instead. The hyaluronic acid is another one that they could take. Arctic sea is another one. But those could be used if they're vegetarians or vegans. Of course, there's even questions with some of those, because some of them they've added the Arctic Sea, and they've added certain things in there which come from a fish source. So you just have to be careful. When we're talking about the gels, the one you have to be careful would be the Freedom, for if you were vegetarian or vegan. Okay.
Okay. Could a 1-year-old take the aloe drinking gel, or I guess any age really?
Yeah, it applies to both humans and animals. Soon as a human or animal child, or a young animal foal or a puppy have developed a gut flora, so they're taking solids, in other words, as soon as they start to take solids, so all sorts of things are going in their mouths, therefore they're developing a gut flora of bacteria, then it is okay to start giving them the actual aloe. But if they're only on milk, and that applies to all species, I don't normally give it to them unless I stop the milk, because I do treat, we have and maybe I didn't want to mention it, but anyway, as a vet, obviously we get loose motions in calves, for example, and with those we will withhold the milk and we will give them aloe to settle the digestive system down, with other things as well. So basically, in children and in young animals, once they're taking solids and developed a gut flora, then it's perfectly okay.
Okay. If you are on medication, can you take the gel?
If you're on medication, you should always discuss, if it's a human, with your doctor, and if you've got your animal and that's on medication, you must always discuss it with your vet, because there are some interactions between herbs and certain medication. And so it's always wise to just discuss it with the doctor or the vet, to make sure that they're getting the full picture, and also they know what you're taking as a natural supplement to go alongside whatever drugs that you may be on. So we would always refer them to their doctor or their vet, and we would never ever get involved with trying to work out any interactions between them. It's always up to their own doctor or vet.
Okay. How much Forever Freedom could I give to a small dog?
It's based on weight. If you're weighing in pounds, it's 2.2. It's 1 mil per pound body weight, or 2.2 mils per kilo. So it's based entirely on weight. You should always do things on weight with animals, even if it's a horse. Don't get into the trap of just saying, oh, it's 12 hands, 16 hands, or whatever, and work it out on that basis. You must always work it on body weight, and you can get little tapes which you put around their bodies, which actually gives you a reasonable indication of their rough weights. So with the horses, it's quite easy to do it that way. Then they're getting the correct amount per kilo, and the same with the dogs. Always weigh them and to make sure they're getting the right amount. So if it weighed 5 kilos, 10 pounds, it would be about 10 mils basically, and pro rata. Okay.
Okay. How much aloe vera gel can the body absorb? If I were to take more than the recommended amount, would that make much difference?
Well, what we found, obviously over the years, we've done many trials, and what we found is the level that we recommend, you'll see benefits by 4 to 6 weeks and a maximum effect by 12. So if you're taking 120 mils for a human, we'd expect something to happen between the 4 to 6 weeks, and by 12 weeks, definitely the improvement in maintaining health you're trying to see. So if you take more than that, you won't necessarily notice a quicker response or a longer response. So you could well be wasting it. The other side of the coin is what's important. If you take too little, then you won't see the response that I've just said, and it can take a very long time before you see any benefit at all. By then, most people will have given up. So it's very important to use the amounts that we recommend, and that is for a human, an average size human, 120 mils. If it's a very big person, then obviously you'd need to up it. It's like with all the other species, you know, if I've got a Shetland pony and I'm normally recommending 250 mils, aren't I, for a horse, I wouldn't normally give a little Shetland 250 mils. I'd be giving it probably a quarter of the amount. And it's the same with the humans. You know, if it's a very lightweight human, you wouldn't necessarily need to go over the 120. You may find between 60 to 120 mils is sufficient for a lightweight human. But I think you've got to have a rule of thumb to work by, and therefore we say for an average human it's 120 mils. You can take more if you wish, but if you keep on increasing that amount, you're not necessarily going to get increased benefit. The benefit you can get is by splitting it and taking it twice a day, so your body is being exposed to it over longer periods. So if you were normally going to take 120 mils a day, if you took 60 in the morning, 60 in the evening, that's probably better than just taking the full 120 a go. But I would say, you know, there's not a huge benefit of going way over the 120 mils unless you're, you know, a large person. Okay.
Okay. I had a customer who is allergic to wheat, but she said she had the same reaction when she was drinking aloe. Do you know if there's, you know, like a possible connection or similarity between those?
Do you know what, did you say what the reaction was? What?
It's not in the question.
No. Obviously, there is no gluten in aloe vera gel. Gluten, as you know, comes from wheat, and there's none in aloe. If she noticed a change in motion, which obviously is what happens sometimes if you've got a gluten intolerance, then yes, you can sometimes get that in some people when they initially go on to aloe vera gel. The reason for that is it takes 10 days for your gut flora to get used to the gel. And some people's digestive system is more sensitive than others, and so they may notice a change in their stools. Some people can actually notice it's a little bit firmer rather than looser, but it's very rare to get it. But some people do if they've got a sensitive system, and maybe they've already got gluten intolerance or celiacs and those types of problems. Then yes, you know, you might see that change. It would be transient. If you did reduce the amount and carried on for the 10 days, the gut flora would get used to it, but you'd need to reduce the amount that you were taking. All right.
Okay, so does aloe have to be taken on an empty stomach?
When I joined Forever First, the opinion was that it did need to be taken on an empty stomach. Having had to deal, in my case, with thousands of animals, it's not always easy to ensure they've had an empty stomach. Often we're actually adding it to their food to get them to take it, or maybe sometimes in their water. And the results at the end have been the same. So although, yes, maybe preferably it is on an empty stomach, in practice, it doesn't seem to make a huge difference. Okay.
Okay. One person has said, what is the MSM from? So I guess for the Forever Freedom, where is that? What is the MSM from?
Methyl sulfonyl mether is a very high sulfur content product, which is extracted from pine trees. So that's, you know, they get the sap from the pine trees. That's very high in MSM. Every cell in your body needs sulfur, so it's a very good source of sulfur for your body, and particularly your cells. But it basically comes from pine trees. That's where it comes from.
Okay. Have you got any tips, please, for horses to accept the Forever Move capsules?
Yeah, we've just been doing something similar with one of our ponies, and we're having to give it as a little drench. We've tried all sorts in the feed. I mean, some of them will, if you mix in something nice into their food to camouflage it, any sort of molasses-based product, or maybe they particularly like carrots. I'm sure they've tried all those things. If you can't persuade them that way, then we do tend to use, I have a little thing called it's like a miniature drenching gun, and I just put the aloe and mix in the mousse and just squirt it into their mouths. But that's obviously it's fairly easy for me because I'm used to doing that. But my wife, she does that as well. But really, it's trying to find some particular succulent food or sweet food, but not in large amounts, that they particularly like, something you know it's one of their favorites, and camouflaging it in that. If you can mix it with something you can hold in your hand, it would be good, because then you know it's definitely had it. Because one of our ponies, we were trying to get it to take this little tablet, and it would seem to consume it into its mouth. You turn your back on it, it would spit it on the floor. So you've got to watch them very closely and mix it initially with, if you can, with something they really like and you know they're going to take. But it can be very difficult with some of them. That's why, you know, sometimes I've had to resort to giving it a daily little dose in either in a syringe or this little dosing gun that I have, which they get accept it, because it's a little bit like giving them a wormer. I mean, you could even do that. You could mix it up into a clean empty tube with your wormer and then pop that into their mouths. So it certainly can be done, but it can be difficult in some cases. Okay.
Can pregnant women drink the aloe vera gels?
We always have a word of warning to pregnancy in humans and in animals. I don't like anything to be changed when they're actually pregnant. If they're on the gel before they're pregnant, that's fine. You can continue taking it. But I would not introduce aloe or anything else during the pregnancy, because if anything goes wrong, they're always going to blame the aloe. And if the medics look up in their books and go back to some of the old uses of aloe, when it was just the sap which was used, pure sap, that can cause uterine contractions. So it's not a good thing to start once you're pregnant. I would be a lot happier that if they were on it before they got pregnant and then just stayed on it. And we've had many pregnant women who've already been on it and gone through their pregnancies and had their lovely babies. And I've had probably thousands of animals now during pregnancy being on the products. So don't introduce it once they're pregnant. Okay.
Is it a good idea to mix your gel with RG and super greens, or is it better to take them separately?
No, you can certainly mix them. A lot of people do. So there's no problem with that. And the great benefit of doing that is that, as in the case of the Freedom, they added the 90% gel to it to improve the absorption of the chondroitin and glucosamine, because they're normally poorly absorbed and broken down by the liver. So they added a good high content of aloe. So if you add in, you know, RG, etc., with the aloe, that's going to help absorption. So that's a positive. So yeah, good idea.
Cool. I think that's all of the questions that we've got. So
very good.
Yeah, thanks very much, Dave.
Good selection. We had human and animals, which was good. So what I'm looking forward to when we can do some of the trainings. I think we're looking at doing some of the trainings, aren't we, online? But also it'd be great when we can get back face to face.
Yeah, definitely.
Sometimes you can't beat.
None of us can wait.
Humans like to socialize, so
yeah,
it'd be great when we can all get back together again. By then I probably will have had a haircut and a beard cut. But thank you both, Kate and Rachel, for sorting that out. I'm sorry I was a bit late getting on. I've had to try 2 different computers and all sorts of things, but it worked in the end. We got there in the end.
Yes, we did. Thank you very much for your time, David.
Nice to speak to you all. Good luck and keep well, everybody. Take plenty of gel.